Hey everybody, happy Friday. So, for this episode, I want you to think about all the things that you want to achieve in 2024. Don't start the planning process in the middle or the end of January. At that point, it shows intentions, right? Intentions equal results. Now, look, if you're slammed and you have too much work going on, I guess that's okay. But if it's important enough to you, you would put it high on the agenda to get that done. As far as end of the year tasks. Like this should be a natural part of who you are and what you do is planning and organizing, deconstructing your behavior, and also constantly setting goals even as you hit the goals that you had set in previous periods. Now you need to set new goals. You don't just want to coast, which is what happens when you don't have goals. Now I've said before on the show goals are important because they explain a process. The goal that most of you have is a number value or it's something that you want to attain, a car, a house, this and that. And that's all great. But to me, that's the runny nose of the cold. You need to have a process in place that you can follow period after period that will get you the results so that you can go and get that stuff, which is usually based on money. So I would think you can use dollars for sure. I like to think in terms of percentages though, and then also set goals around the feelings that you want to feel. The feelings, I wouldn't say the feelings that you don't want to feel because whatever you say, you tend to get what you say. So I wouldn't say, like, I don't want to feel fear and anxiety because that's giving them power. What I would say is, I want to feel peaceful and in control, right? So say things in the positive, say it in the present tense, and think about that way too. So, because the emotions and the things that come from your subconscious oftentimes have a lot of power over what you do. To me, that's the engine of what's driving all the behavior, right? If we're pleasure seekers on some level, a lot of it comes from your subconscious. Now, some of you have financial responsibilities, and so you're much more evolved for sure. And so you know when you're in the zone, you know when you're not. You know when it's the market and you know when it's you. That's why we say, if you're not in a good space, take a couple of days off, get your head together. Because the financial damage that you could do might be, more punitive than it has to be. So when I think of goal planning and how I want 24 to unfold, I think about the feelings that I want to feel over any given day. And I think about the things that I want to achieve given the gifts that God's given me and the abilities that I have in my life, not just in and around trading. And then making sure when you marry all that stuff together that it shows a sense of harmony because I don't want to go overboard on the trading and then, sacrifice other stuff. I kind of want it all. I don't, I want my personal life and my professional lives to blend and exist in harmony where one isn't, I don't want to rob from Peter to pay Paul, as they kind of say. So I think about the balance of it all so that I can have a very rich life. I think about people that I want to meet, places that I want to travel to. I think about evolving, my painting. I think about becoming more in tune with the markets and what new things can I learn that I don't know, what things that I fail at previous stages of my life that I want to come back and revisit. I think about the amount of time I want to contribute to the study, of my craft in addition to what I already know how to do fairly well. Um, I think of business ventures and I start to map all that out and think about, okay, who do I need to know? What do I need to do in order to make all of that happen? What do I think the feelings are going to be around those new endeavors? Because anytime you invite something new into your world, there's the potential for failure. And so, but I don't have a fear of failure. Like that's just the way things go. If you're going to endeavor and take on new things, there's going to be failure. It could be that you spend time on things that don't come to fruition. It might mean trying a new style of trading that doesn't work out and you end up losing money. You can figure that all out at the beginning before you even put the risk on, and have an idea and process those feelings in the ever evolving moment of right now. So that's kind of how I look at planning as I start to dream. And you start to dream big dreams, make them absolutely ridiculous, make them fantastic, make them not even practical. Because if it's practical, it's probably something that you already know how to do, and it's probably not going to be life changing. The goal, the thing around goals for me is around personal growth. Like, what do I want to become? Who do I want to become? What kind of role do I want to play in the world and in my own, life locally, as I grow older? you know, and some of that means also, like, from a charitable standpoint, what can I do to give back to the community? How can I add more value, to help people out along the lines of Think and Grow Rich kind of stuff? What's the most value that I could provide for the community given the time constraints that I have? And where, for the things that we offer for coaching and stuff, where is there a good exchange of value? Like, what's fair for the amount of work and the value that we present? What's a fair price? What's a fair amount of time to make that commitment, to the community, knowing that even though there's an exchange of value, there's a tuition and there's value presented, it's still something that you have to take seriously, because it's not just about trying to hustle money from people, right? You have to deliver the goods. We get very good grades on that because it's absolutely part of my consciousness. If I have half a crumb, I break it in half. I'm going to give you the bigger half of the crumb at that point, And so that's the way I think of things, is to evolve and dream. And I take out, I'm a visual learner. So I tend to take out, I got notebooks everywhere. I tend to take out journals and notebooks and start to storyboard and just write the stuff out in the present tense of, what it would look like. And then after all that daydreaming is done, I'll go back and read it after a few days and say, it's not like the things have to be practical, because most of it's impractical. But then you're like, okay, creatively, using my imagination, my will, my memory, what is it that I need to do to just get started? I don't need to know all 10 steps. That would be overthinking things. I am the kind of person who's very entrepreneurial, and I'm very confident in myself, so much so that if I want to start something, I usually pick up the phone or send out an email to get the ball rolling. I'm not worried about step number 2. I'll figure that out when I get there. I think for a lot of you in the trading world, you can do that too. Like, don't sit and overthink stuff. Because the reality is that if you don't have enough experience, you don't have any feel, and the market is probabilistic. So you could sit there and overthink everything for ages. And then I'll come back to, like, well, what is your goal? What is it that you want to do? Do you want to trade, or do you want to evaluate and analyze the markets? And so in there, you have to figure out, is like, what do you want to do? How do you want to spend your time? Right? What is it? What are the results that you want from that process, or those processes, together, that make up a system? Because everyone's running some type of a system, whether it's using one of the engines, like I mentioned, or you're a chart reader. It's all a big system. And your emotions and your psychology are largely running everything. That's why we spend so much time thinking about it. The good news is that when the folks start to think about it when working with us, not only does their trading improve, but their lives improve, because your emotional models you overlay on everything in your life. So be very, very honest with yourself, because the more you discover about yourself, the better off you're going to be. I know that sounds like a generalization, but I like to believe, especially having spent so much time with the trading community, self-knowledge is the key. It's the absolute key. And if you don't know who you are, I don't care what you know. I could look everything up. Everything, when I was coming up, the internet didn't exist, so you had to get it from books mostly. But for the most part, nowadays, anything is a Google search away. So the idea that I need to have somebody in my life who has an encyclopedic knowledge of things is a bit of a waste, because if AI doesn't replace you, I don't mind doing a basic Google search to find out, things that are probably existing somewhere in the cloud. So remember, we get paid to execute. We don't get paid to know stuff. And the question that you ask yourself for 2024 is, what are you willing to do to hit your goals? What feelings are you willing to feel? Because that's going to be the barometer of and the gauge, first for your acceleration and your deceleration towards those end results. And that's an exciting place to be, because you get to determine what it is that you're willing to feel. I'm willing to feel all my feelings. I kind of always have been. I was lucky that way. So there's nothing that would get in the way of me achieving a goal or not achieving a goal from an emotional standpoint. Yes, there's setbacks and there's moments when things stall. More will be revealed. And those periods are where you kind of have to sit on your hands and think and get creative and say, okay, it didn't work when I went this way. Now I got to go this way and see what information I can pull together and what pieces and resources I can, put together in order to achieve my goal. But more will be revealed is the way I look at it. Anyway, I appreciate everyone very much. It's been a pretty good year for the YouTube channel. We've been able to get some good data from everyone who's liked and subscribed, as Ganja would say. And, I've learned a lot too. I get to revisit all these lessons, which are, very, very, primal I think, for traders. It's important to be able to reiterate, the heuristics that are important and the key performance indicators, based on your trading, my trading. It's also important to understand, what makes you tick, because then understanding that, to me, once you know what makes you tick, then finding the right trading strategy or process to follow is a lot easier. That's kind of why we focus on this stuff here. It's why I try to respond to all the comments and the questions myself, because I have a lot of experience of experimentation and things not working out as I evolve and continue to evolve myself. That being said, I wish you all a great rest of your year, which would include any of the holidays coming through. New Year's, be careful, be safe. And I'm going to take a couple weeks off here and, collect myself, do the things that I talked about yesterday and today, for myself, and come in and hit the ground running for, January of 24. I'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I'll see you in early January. I wish you a good holiday season, a great new year. See you in a couple weeks.